The Faceless Crown. The house had no number, no visible path leading to it, and no reason to exist. It sat deep in the ravines where the stone hills curled like petrified beasts, where roads ended not in fences or signs but in silence so heavy it could bruise the ribs. The townspeople had known about it once, or thought they did. Long ago, when it still bore the name of a family no one dared mention anymore. But over time, it became a rumor, a shape mistaken for shadow, a memory that drifted through generations with its edges dulled. There had been 3 boys once, not brothers by blood, but close enough that their names were spoken like one breath. Lucian, Dorian, and Matthew. Their presence had once been the only brightness this town knew, radiant and inexplicably untouched by the decay that curled into everyone else. They moved through the streets like something sacred, so composed, so precise in posture and manner that people often held their breath when they passed, as if any sound would shatter their poise. They lived in the house at the edge of the hills, the one that watched over the town like an ancient sentinel. No one knew who raised them. Some said a foreign woman, tall and silent, who came once a year and stood at their gates without entering. Others whispered about a mother who had once ruled half the valley with a mind sharper than glass and a voice that never needed to rise above a murmur. Whatever the truth, the boys were always alone. They kept to themselves, yet the world bent toward them, drawn by the gravity of beauty, intelligence, and something else, something more difficult to name. Then came the land, a vast stretch of untouched property. Deep in the gorge where no one dared build, was to be sold. It was said to be cursed, infertile, or haunted by the breathless silence of the caves underneath it. But the moment the 3 young men saw it, they knew. It was not a question of owning it. It was a calling, each of them sure it had whispered only to him. No one understood what changed between them. One day they were a single unit, impenetrable, and the next, they were cold, cautious, watching each other with the wary tension of dogs circling for dominance. The town watched as papers were filed, as disputes were brought to council, as rumors of quiet threats and hidden blackmail slithered through alleys and bedrooms. And then, just as quickly, the conflict vanished from sight. Nothing was said. No decisions were announced. But Lucian was gone. Then Dorian. Only Matthew remained in the house on the hill. His face, once a thing of tragic beauty, disappeared behind a polished metal mask. He said it was due to an accident, a fire or a disease depending on who asked. But he no longer came to town. The estate gates were locked. The house windows closed. Lights flickered sometimes at night, visible from the cliffs where children climbed to prove they were brave. And then silence for years. People said Lucian and Dorian had left, but no one had seen them go. No car was heard. No train. Just their absence, clean and total, like teeth pulled from the mouth of the town itself. The land, untouched and vast, was never built upon. The stillness grew heavy, then unbearable. One day, a small group of children wandered too far during one of their cliffside games. They found a tunnel hidden behind stone, an opening reinforced with rotting wood beams, covered in moss and rust. It led somewhere. They followed it. What they found at the end was not darkness, but a room buried in the earth, lined in books and lit by an oil lamp that never went out. In the center sat a man, tall, unmoving, the mask a part of him now, fused with skin, or perhaps with something deeper. He did not speak, but the children heard him, or thought they did. Not in words, but in pulses like feelings given shape. They returned to town changed, quiet, distant. One girl began drawing portraits of 3 men with identical faces, 2 of them bruised and bound, the third with empty sockets where his eyes should be. Another child began sleeping with stones in her bed, convinced it kept the voice away. Their parents dismissed it as games or trauma from whatever they'd seen. But whispers spread. Dorian and Lucian had never left. They were below, alive perhaps but broken, and Matthew had buried them there. He had not won the land. He had taken it, cheated, through some quiet betrayal so absolute it could not be undone. When the truth began to churn beneath the town's surface, strange things followed. Mirrors fogged when no heat was near, Old journals in the library were found missing pages, each torn clean where Matthew's name had once been written. Birds circled the ravine and then dropped mid-flight, wings seizing as if their veins had turned to iron. One night, the children returned to the house. Not all of them, just 3. No one knows what they said to him, only that the next morning, the metal mask was left on the steps, damp with something too thick to be water. The man was gone. The house remained. Clean, orderly, windows open to let in air no one had breathed in decades. In the cellar, 2 chairs faced each other, covered in dust and cobwebs, but not decay. And beside them a third empty, pristine, untouched. People don't speak of the house now. The land is still unclaimed, not because of fear but because of a silence deeper than history. Some say the 3 princes were never royalty, only boys who mistook love for possession and friendship for conquest. Others say the land had never wanted a master at all, that it had simply waited until they unmade themselves. All that remains are 3 names no one dares teach their children, and a mask that gleams faintly in the museum under glass, though no one ever remembers placing it there. It reflects nothing, not even your own face.